And if you guys are watching the YouTube stream, you'll see there's a delay, so don't worry about that.
Okay. What is with your thing?
I don't know what's going on with this.
What's that? Okay.
Well, worst case, we might have to switch to the other camera on the computer, but
Okay.
because I don't know what's going on with this. Is it still doing that on your end, or is it?
Just like a small little section at the bottom of the screen is kind of flashing every now and then, but
Let's
nothing
just go with it.
nothing too dramatic.
Yeah, if it gets worse, then I'll just change the camera.
Okay. All right, so we are live on YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
Hey, for those of you joining us on YouTube, hello, and thanks for joining us. If you notice some weird flashing at the bottom of the screen, that's just whatever's haunted at Leah and Mike's house playing with us tonight.
One of
Which
many,
could
I bet.
probably be a number of things.
Yes. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
Give a couple minutes for people to come on in if they're going to come in.
Come on, people. Let's talk.
Mike, did you serve? Were you in the Army?
I was, yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. The flashing is taking up more of the screen now.
Why don't you just go ahead and switch it before?
Yeah.
Gonna have a seizure.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go. Look at that.
Closer.
Up close and personal. We get a few people here in the YouTube live. Thanks for joining. We're going to get started here in just a moment.
You want me to turn
Working out at some technical difficulties there that seem to be taken care of.
Thank goodness. We're just a little bit closer.
There we go. All right. Well, if you guys are all set, we're going to go ahead and hit record and jump right in.
Let's hit it.
Well, that's weird. I've never seen that before. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to It Came From the Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Coletta. We are on episode 7. Last Monday, we were supposed to have Sean Austin, but Sean was actually going to be in the car on the way to North Carolina, and I figured it was probably more important to keep his eyes on the road than his eyes on the cell phone. So after this interview here with our guest, we'll have Sean on at 9 o'clock. Don't forget, next Monday, Mike Ricksucker is on, and we may or may not have a guest for the 25th because originally it was supposed to be Chelsea Gill, but my scatterbrain completely forgot that was Thanksgiving week and probably not the best week to try and schedule a guest. So next Monday might be the last episode here for a couple of weeks, but we'll see what happens. First of all, I want to mention that it is Veterans Day. So throughout the day today, I've hoped that you have at least thanked a veteran or two. Every time I work in a small business, grocery store type place, and get a lot of older people that come in. And every time I see the hat, whether it's Army, Navy, Marine Corps, whatever it is, and it says veteran, always thank them for their service. And one of our guests tonight is another one that we need to thank for his service. So I'm going to start out with that first. Mike Rivers, thank you very much for your sacrifice to this country. It is because of you that we are able to do what we're doing right now. So I don't know, I have talked to some veterans that I don't think really realize the scope of the sacrifice that you made, and that all of our veterans make. So, first off, let's just start off by thanking you, sir. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
With Mike Rivers is his wonderful wife, Leah. Leah is a paranormal investigator, researcher, also a psychic medium, and now a published author. I don't know if we can see. Can we see? My video is kind of screwed up here. There we go. Oh, kind of, sort of.
Oh, there it is.
Anyway, her new book is called No, Just Wait, My Story of Death and Back. I was honored to receive one of the first copies that went out. And let's just say that this book is, I put a review on Amazon and I tried to put it together the best I could. I kind of knew some of the story going in, but when you have it in your hand and you're reading it, it really, it impacts you, it hits you. It opens your eyes to a lot of things. And whether you are a Christian or you have any kind of belief like that, this is still a book that you need to pick up because it can potentially change the way that you think about things. And we'll get into that as we go into our interview tonight. But also, Mike is a firefighter, also a paranormal investigator and researcher, video editor, and as we said, United States Army veteran. So, Leah and Mike, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you. We're honored.
It's funny that I talk to you guys all the time on social media and we're always posting, but to this day, I've never met either of the two of you.
That is weird.
Hopefully that will happen this December if things work out, right?
I hope so.
Or if you guys happen to come up this way at some point before then, who knows? I don't know.
That may or may not be in the cards here in the coming months.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you just let me know. I'm not far away from a lot of the locations here in Indiana, especially if you're going to a couple of locations.
I think we are.
Okay.
Yes.
That narrowed it down.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's start out. Those of you that are watching this right now, or you're going to be listening to this, I have a new magazine called Para, All Things Paranormal, and every month I have an investigator spotlight. And the first issue, which is out right now, our investigator spotlight was on L&M Paranormal. So this works out really well in that perspective. Also, it's Veterans Day. I think it was all meant to be this day. But I want to start out by talking about you guys as a team. You obviously with L&M Paranormal, if you see the banner behind you, you have Ephesians. I forget what it is. Ephesians, what's the verse? 6:11. And it talks about putting on the armor of God. So obviously I'll be quite honest, my wife, we're a Christian family. I'm not a big church guy, but my wife is, my daughter is. She does not care for anything that I do in the paranormal. She's one of those, I think it's all evil. I think it's all bad stuff. That's kind of what she is. When you start to put together the paranormal and a team of Christian paranormal investigators, people go, wait a minute, that's just, something's not right there. So explain to me how you guys became involved in the paranormal and how that even fits in with a Christian belief.
Well, how we came to be into the paranormal, after Leah's episode in the book, after Leah's stint in the hospital, which is all laid out in the book, after she healed up, we realized that life is finite. Life is we're here right now and we don't know what tomorrow is. And so many people, and us included, we went through and we're putting off all the fun stuff until let's just a few more years. Let's save up a little bit more money. Let's wait until this happens, that, and the other to start doing stuff. And after she healed up, we're like, let's start living. Let's start going out and having fun. Well, one of the things that we've always wanted to do was go on a ghost hunt. We didn't know anything about it except for the TV shows. So we signed up for a big ghost hunt at Missouri State Penitentiary. I believe it was through Ghost Hunt USA or something, and 200 people there.
I was going to say,
And
when you came in big.
yeah. And, we're packing our bags for this thing, and I have no idea what to take on a ghost hunt. So I'm reaching back into my memories of, what you see in the movies. And, so I'm kind of basing my backpack off of that. Well, what's the first thing that goes out in the movies? It's always the flashlight. So I packed 13 flashlights with me with extra batteries. I was not going to be caught in the dark. I won't happen.
I think I have a picture of it somewhere.
Yeah. Then we had a cheap camcorder, and I believe that's about it. Went on this ghost hunt, and Leah realized a few things about herself walking into some of these places that she would walk in there and would sense people, sense a person. And Mike, is there somebody in the corner over there? I'm like, no, there's nobody standing there. She goes, well, I clearly see somebody in the corners. Nope, there's nobody over there. So through all of that process, that's where she was able to start realizing that she was able to communicate with people on the other side. After that, we kind of linked up with the local team, learned a little bit more about it, and then we broke off onto our own and started doing the things that we felt we were being pulled to do. That's kind of how we got started in a nutshell.
When I started it and was really thinking about the name and the verse, and it really was important to me that our why was strong, because you can lose yourself along the way. And if you're not grounded in what you believe in, then you're just going to kind of get lost and fizzle out. And when we were going to start this and do this, I told Mike that I really felt deep down that this was like a purpose, like a real purpose. I didn't know exactly where it was going to go or what, but we needed to start strong. We needed to be us, and putting God first is we have to do that. That's just, I'm not ashamed of it.
Sure.
And I also felt a calling to let people know that just because you're a Christian doesn't mean that you can't be in the paranormal, because everything for me in the paranormal is spiritual. The Holy Spirit, you accept Jesus as your savior, the Holy Spirit comes to live inside of you. And so, like, what more supernatural, paranormal, like, is that? You can't get any more than that. And so it was important to me to put that on everything, a verse that we both agreed on and we use, because we pray before we go into our investigations and before we leave, just for protection, and then to make sure that when we know what we're communicating with. So like discernment, like, is this evil, or is it just, a person kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. I have found myself, the argument is always going to come up, as I talked about before, like, you can't be a Christian and be involved in this ghost stuff. And you have to take people back through areas, even in the Bible, where it refers to certain things of a paranormal essence. When Jesus walked on the water, he asked, "Did you think I was a ghost?" Okay, so there's your first one right there. And then you've got, one of the biggest ones, when Mary Magdalene arrived at the tomb and Jesus said, "Don't touch me, I haven't yet ascended." Was he in a spiritual form at that point in time? There's a lot of ways to take these kind of things, but there are arguments for both sides. But it's very rare that you see paranormal investigative teams that use anything biblical or have a Christian foundation to build their team off of. I'm sure there are more out there, but again, it's kind of controversial, I think, and it's great when people are able to know how you utilize that in the pursuit of answers, as we are all doing. Like I said, my wife is not the biggest fan of what I do. She doesn't really believe in it. She really doesn't care. My daughter's interested in it. We had the um, fortunate ability to be at the Bell Mansion for a couple years there, almost every single day, and we both experienced things. I had one of my most profound experiences at the Bell Mansion. The other one, actually, I had this whole evening with interviews and all this ties together so well, because the most profound experience that I've ever had in the paranormal was with Sean Austin. Sean Austin, as you probably know, has the ability to help spirits pass on, and I was witness to that. To the extent where I don't know if I've ever told you guys a story, if you've ever heard of what happened to me in Gettysburg with Sean. That hit me the next day and it stayed with me forever. So it just goes to show that there are things that can have such a profound impact on your life, not just because of the paranormal, but because of of a a Christian or a religious type of involvement. It's all tied together. Everything
It
is
is.
tied together.
It's
Um,
souls. I believe a spirit is a soul. You're speaking to a soul, and some of them need help, and they need to um, release, I guess, what happened to them, or what the trauma they went through, or um, they need help finding their next step on the other side. And to be
yeah,
part of that is, yeah, it'll change your life.
yeah, you're absolutely right, and I agree with you on that point too. I've always believed, and again, more controversial opinions, but I believe when you die, your body, the shell of what you were, goes into the ground. Nobody cares about it anymore. Your spirit goes directly where it's going to go, heaven, hell, wherever it's going to go. Your soul, the energy that remains, is what we are working with here as investigators and researchers. So, I believe just as there are three parts to, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, you've got the body, the soul, and the spirit when it comes to us. So I don't believe that we are communicating with, do I want to say, people that are just like trapped in a bad situation. I don't know if that's how I want to put it. I think we're dealing with people that are here, but maybe are just not able to find their way to where they need to go. And, when it comes to Sean and that experience that I had, he's a giant beacon of light in pitch black, and these things just come to him and ask him for help. So it's amazing when you see that. As investigators and researchers like yourselves, have you ever experienced together that one moment where you were just like, this was it. This was what we've been waiting for, and it happened to us. Just a personal experience. Nothing that would have to be groundbreaking, but have you ever experienced that together or separately for that matter?
Several times together.
Okay.
Broadhead
Well, let's talk about the
Man.
first time, because that's going to be the one that probably impacted you the most.
Well, I think for me, my most significant, probably the biggest one for me was what happened this year at Broadhead Manor.
Okay.
That place is just wild.
Mm.
And we got there the first night. We did 2 nights there. The first night was just Leah and I. And we went and we took our tour of the place. Bill was telling us about everything that was going on there. And I'd always heard people talk about elementals. I'd never experienced it. And so I just kind of dismissed them as not real, I guess.
Mhm. Mhm.
But that night at we were in the gym, and Leah was under. She was doing Estes like she normally does, and I'm hearing all kinds of noises around me. Um, And then at one point on the other side of the gym, I heard a loud growl, not a scary one, but just a loud growl. And so that kind of like, what in the world was that? Then we kind of finished up in the gym and we're like, all right, well, what are we going to go next? What are we going to do? And just out of nowhere, I got this bone chilling cold. And it was like down to my bones. I've been cold before, but this was like
Mm.
my bones were cold. And I was almost frozen in fear. At what? I have no idea. Couldn't tell you. Like nothing happened.
Right.
Um, but we had to leave the school for a good 2 hours. We went and sat in the
Oh.
parking lot with the car running with the heater at full blast before I finally warmed up.
Mm.
And then we finally came back to the school. We went to the room that we were waiting in, and I couldn't even look at the cameras. I could not go anywhere. I was frozen.
He's never done that
That's never
before.
happened to me before.
Mm.
Well, I talked to Bill the next day, and he said that's a common occurrence. It's happened to him. It's happened for several other people.
And did you tell old Bill Walter, hey, thanks for the warning before I went in there?
I did. I did. I'm glad that he didn't tell me though, because it made me
Right.
it validated my feelings. I wasn't just being a big baby about walking around in the dark,
Not that
Um,
time.
not that time, no. But it was crazy because it's never happened to me. It's like, how do you explain to somebody that you were that terrified of nothing? Nothing happened.
Yeah.
But that was probably one of the biggest ones. And every time, Leah goes under Estes and she does readings for people, we had an amazing one at Missouri State
Yeah,
last weekend.
last weekend. So before we even go places, spirits come to the house, they visit me. And
Mm.
there's stuff that gets moved around, knocked off the walls, voices. The kids hear it, Mike hears it, everybody experiences it.
We had a painting get thrown off the wall 2 days before we went to Missouri. It went across the room off the wall.
Yeah.
So
It ended up being a guy named William, and he went by Bill, and he was in cell 46, 47,
47.
in A Hall, and he said that he had something to get off his chest. Like he had something to talk about that night, and he had been waiting for us to get there for me to do that. So we sat down, I channeled in, and I started talking, and he wanted to revisit life, before prison. And what was it? You started playing music.
I asked him if he wanted to listen to some Johnny Cash. Who wouldn't,
Mm.
right?
Right.
And he answered with Ring of Fire. So
Huh.
I turned on Ring of Fire, and he started.
Well, and I have the headphones on. It's turned up full blast. This is how I channel very clearly when I'm in a place like that. I just turn it up, and the white noise just sends me right where I need to be, and I'm able to see them, hear them, and I can even, they say my voice sounds like them.
She takes on mannerisms and say things, that like if she was doing a reading for you, hey, that sounds like something my grandpa would say, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I always make sure to talk really quiet and turn, like this, in this case, I turn the phone down really low.
Mhm.
Just for the people that are around me. So that way I can, you can
Well, you want it
say,
to be
right.
solid, when you're recording evidence like that. I want to make sure people know I'm really doing this. He's really doing it, and it's happening. And
Right.
it was really neat because he was able to.
So we started, I started quizzing him. I was like, well, I wonder if, he knows I'm playing Johnny Cash. What else does he know? So I turned on The Highwayman, and she
Mhm.
said, all of a sudden now I'm seeing Willie Nelson. And then she got
Waylon Jennings.
Waylon Jennings. Yeah, I just had a brain fart
And he
for a
doesn't
second.
like Reba, but he loves Dolly.
Yeah.
And when he was talking about Dolly, he like had his hands up, like she's really smart and she's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Yeah,
it
that was
was
pretty
just
neat.
really neat that we were playing, musical trivia like that, and she got every
Yeah.
single one of them right.
My most profound one, though, was at Broadhead Manor when I laid down on the morgue table they had there, and there was a man that was really sad, confused, and stuck. And he was looking for Victoria. I remember her name. He said he was looking for Victoria, and whatever they were saying, because I had the headphones on, I could see him. He was looking at me, but then all of a sudden this light opens up and Victoria comes through and she's reaching for him and she's got this long dark hair and she's come with me, and they found each other. They were a couple. He's been looking for her. He was crying. He was confused. Should I go? Is this where I need to go? And then like he reached for her hand and found peace. It was just like that peace that I felt
Mhm.
when I died and when Jesus came and was behind me. It was that kind of peace. And to watch him just kind of disappear and go with her, it was like an emotion that took over. Was really amazing.
Now, do you think that for that particular instance, that particular thing that occurred, do you think that that was happening in real time, or were you simply watching something that had already maybe taken place?
I
Were you watching
believe,
were you watching it live, or were you watching a rerun, in your opinion?
in my opinion, real time.
Okay.
Real time. I
Because that gets into the conversation of, when you're seeing these things and when we as researchers are experiencing them, are we experiencing these things as they are actually happening, or are we watching the tape of something that already did? And that's why I asked that question.
Right. And that's a really good question. So far I haven't experienced anything yet that I feel like would be something that I'm watching. And the reason I say that is because I feel like I'm channeling them. Like I can feel them and you're talking, right? And we're answering each other. How do you feel when that's taking place?
I feel like it's a as direct conversation as you and I are having right now, because I'll ask, whatever questions pop into my head and I get a direct answer.
Okay.
So when I get an answer like that, that's why I feel like, yeah, it's happening right now, because of the conversation that we're just a fluent conversations you would have with anybody else. And when we connect like that, it's pretty profound.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. One of the reasons that I asked that is because, I'm starting my own new team, and I'm throwing out a lot of the typical investigative stuff, and I'm using more of, I don't know if I want to say necessarily a scientific approach, but I'm trying to get as much factual information as I can out of an investigation. And so one of the things that I really want to be focused on is, when we're experiencing these things, how can we provide evidence that we're experiencing it in real time and we're not watching a replay of a tape? Not
Yeah.
so much the stone tape theory, but somewhere along that line. And that's one of the things that I want to focus on. And equipment use, with the team that I'm starting, is going to be very minimal. I've never been a big equipment guy. Send me in with my phone and I'm good. I don't need blinky lights and cat balls and things that are going to beep the entire night. That's just not me. Um, so I'm going to be looking more at, FLIR cameras, temperature monitors, things that are going to be able to monitor in real time the conditions of certain places. So, those are big factors. But I, I think that, when you're experiencing something as it's happening, as opposed to re-witnessing something. I think you kind of know that inside. It's interesting, Mike, what you were talking about, where you were just frozen in fear, which begs the question: do you think that may have been the spirits know you, they know your faith, they know who you are? Do you think that may have been maybe a scare tactic or an attack of some kind? Do you think they were testing you?
I think so. Earlier in that day, when we first got there, we were doing a walkthrough. And as I said, I never really believed too much in elementals, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that much about them.
Right.
didn't know that much about him. So I'm walking through the school. I'm doing a live, just, this is where we're at. And somebody jumps on there and starts kind of poking fun, like all my friends would. Um, and I'm poking fun back, kind of at the building, and like just kind of getting everything all geared up, just getting excited. Um, I think they heard that. Obviously, they did, and I think this was their way of saying, just, hey, we're here. Um, Respect us. They weren't trying to be. I don't feel like they were trying to be malicious or attack or anything like that. I think it was just a watch yourself.
Mhm.
Just
Asserting their authority.
asserting it. Yeah, yes, but yeah, that's what I feel like. I'd
Because
forgotten that I was
then
on the
that
phone doing the.
automatically goes in the topic of the demonic, which is one of my
Yeah.
biggest pet peeves.
No.
Nothing gets me more fired up than talking about that.
Oh yeah.
A couple weeks ago, I had on Father Ken Torres. He is my go-to person for anything in that realm of anything, not necessarily demonic, but negative entity discussions and things like that. Um, so far, I have never encountered anything like that, and there's a 99.9% chance that I never will. However, apparently, if you're a YouTube person, you encounter them every week when you go into a location. Um,
Twice
but
on
yeah,
Tuesdays.
yeah, twice a day, exactly. Um, but yeah, that's something that I have I have been in the presence of negative entities before. One that was pretty scary that I was involved with. Chelsea Gill was there at the time, and it was a pretty intense experience, but it was a quick experience. Um, but I've said my piece about how this has all affected the community and all this. Put demon in your YouTube video, and everybody's going to click. I think there has to. It's starting to go away. I've noticed the trend is starting to go away a little bit,
Yeah.
and I'm happy for that. Um, People just seem to thrive on the negative. About they don't care about the positive side of what we do. They want to be entertained, and that's fine. If you want to be entertained, there's lots of TV shows that you can go out there
Yeah.
and be entertained. Um,
I think
to
one of
an episode.
the other thing that kind of needs to be, people need to change that outlook on is, just because you hear a growl, just because you see a black shadow, just
Mhm.
because you get a scratch, that does not mean it's evil or it's
Yeah,
it's bad. You know, that might be the only way that they can communicate is to accidentally scratch you,
yeah,
or they're just coming over as a growl or whatever. Just because
yeah,
you get those things does not mean it's evil. It's just how they're coming across.
I don't like it when they glorify it, the evil.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
that like
that's
they
a big thing.
just it's almost like they celebrate it. And I feel like if there's some malicious spirit there, they feed on it
mhm,
and it makes it worse. And I just
yeah,
don't I'm not for that. That's just my opinion though.
yeah, yeah. And, concerning the scratches and the growls and stuff like that, people also fail to realize that what think we're hearing or seeing may not be what they are actually trying to say or communicate
Exactly.
to us.
Yeah.
There's so much space between them and us.
Yeah,
We're hearing a growl, but they're saying, "Hey, come over
yeah,
here," you know?
exactly,
A good
exactly.
example of that is at Malvern Manor. They have a spirit, a 7 foot tall shadow that will
Hmm.
rush you down the hallway. And for the longest times, they couldn't, they were like, they thought it was something evil.
Hmm.
Well, Josh, the owner, was able to talk to a former nurse who worked there, and she said in that room was a nonverbal autistic man who was really tall, like 6'11" or something like that. And what he
Hmm.
would do, because he had fun at this, is he would chase the nurses from this room down the hall and around the corner to the kitchen. And that's just was a game to him.
Mhm.
Well,
Okay.
now they have a 7 foot tall shadow that's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not something evil, it's
I think
the
that's
energy.
just his residual energy
Yeah.
left behind
Mhm.
too.
But I could see
Yeah.
how that would, obviously scare the pants off somebody.
Oh, sure. Sure. Yeah.
But it's a good example of how just because it's a shadow and it's chasing you, scary, yes. Evil,
Exactly.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, we have to we have to look for the alternatives in this stuff, you're walking down a hallway in some haunted location and you get a scratch on your arm. You determine that you didn't bump up against anything. There's nothing physical around you that could have caused it. So is it paranormal? Maybe. Was it intentional? Or were you just occupying the same space as something that happened to accidentally scratch you on its way past you? There's so much more. And I'm glad that you guys are part of looking deeper into these things other than taking everything at face value, because I think that's done way too much in the community. And there are people out there like Brandon Alvis and Mustafa Gadalari who are injecting new procedures and new processes into what we do. And if you guys haven't watched the Haunted Discoveries, please do, because some of the stuff that he's doing is groundbreaking stuff. Yeah, there's so much that frustrates all of us. I wish we could fit it all into
I
one
know.
little ball and just throw it away, but that's unfortunately not going to happen. But again,
Yeah.
there are those of us that are in this for the right reason, and we're moving things forward. So, um, the next thing I want to talk about, of course, is Leah and your book. Now, without giving too much away so that people will go out and buy Notice Wait. We haven't talked about your experience yet. Can you kind of give us a Reader's Digest version of what happened to you without giving away everything in the book? Is that possible?
I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, explain to us what happened that put you into the situation that you were in. What caused that to happen?
Like
Can we
what made me
What
go into the
killed you?
hospital and kill
Yeah,
me?
what killed you?
yeah, is that,
Okay, I like that. Yeah,
I didn't
I'm
want to
good with
say it
that.
that way, but yeah.
Well, it's true. What happened was, as a family, we had to make a choice to get the vaccine or not, because our children they all have special medical needs, and we had to take them to Cincinnati at the time. And big hospital, big research hospital, number one for what they have. And in order to go, you had to get the old vaccine,
Yeah.
and it kind of went against us. And I did. I went in and I got it. And as soon as we got out of that building that I went into and got the shot in, I did not feel well. And things just tumbled downhill from there. Every day I just kept getting sicker and sicker until one day I just knew I wasn't going to get any better. There was a little voice in the back of my head that's like, I don't know what to do. I'm not getting any better. I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like I'm dying. Those were the words that just kept going through my head. And that's what landed me in the hospital.
Do you believe that everything that happens to you in life is predetermined and predestined? So do you think that everything you've experienced you were supposed to experience?
Yes, I do. I do, because I believe in God, and God had my life planned out before I was even born, and he knew this was what was going to happen. And I also, as a child, had a little voice in the back of my head that said, you're going to do something. You're going to do something big. I always strived to do more for people. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to help people. I wanted to change the world. I wanted to just help. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I felt like something was going to happen in a big way. Always felt that, but I didn't know what. And I I believe and know now this is the road that I was led to be on.
That's when you looked up to the sky and said, okay, I knew something big was going to happen, but did it have to be this whole thing?
Exactly. And I
I mean,
always
come
tell
on.
people that.
There are much
I'm
nicer ways we could have gone through this process.
exactly. I'm like, people, if you're looking for a life change and you want to do something, a near-death experience is not what I recommend. Just you can change your life in many ways, but
But man, I'll tell you what, a near-death experience is about as close as you can get to a literal life-changing situation.
yes,
And
definitely, yes.
and I
If
think that has given you new life, and I think that it's given you the fuel to keep the drive going. And that's one thing that I've always appreciated about you guys is your honesty and your passion. Those are two big things. And I know that there was a point in time where things were kind of not right with our world, our immediate world.
Yes.
Um, but I'm not the type of person to abandon or cast away anybody. Um, and I'm glad that you guys are a part of my world and a part of my life. I'm glad to have you guys in it, and I appreciate you so much. So
Well, that means
um,
a lot to me. Thank you. We
yeah,
feel the same.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, so as we wrap things up tonight, I want you guys to talk about a couple things real quick. Let people know where they can find you on social media, how they can follow your adventures or misadventures or whatever you want to call them. Let people know how they can get your book, and just any way that people can follow you or keep up progress with what you guys are doing in the paranormal world.
I think the easiest way is going to follow us is on Facebook,
Mhm.
L&M Paranormal. Um, I try to make all my videos for on YouTube. I'm going to start making more of those next year once I get a better, faster computer. But it's on L&M Paranormal on YouTube. And then as far as the book goes, it's on Amazon. No, just wait. And
And if you need to get a hold of me or you want to follow me, it's Leah Rivers, and you want a reading or anything like that, just reach out and message me, and I'd love to do that for anybody. And just reach out, let me know you picked up the book, and if you want to have a conversation about it. I've had people reach out and just be like, "Wow," and then they end up telling me their story, and that's what I really love about it, is connecting that way. So.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that this book is gonna do is it's gonna connect a lot of people. People will be able to start telling their stories, and it
And
paints the picture.
yeah, and don't be ashamed of what you believe in.
Mhm.
What you believe in, make sure you're grounded in it and rooted in it, and go with it and be strong with it. And that's I'm not afraid to say we're a Christian team, and that's where we go with it. So,
There you go. And to piggyback off of that, we started out, I was talking about Dustin Perry, and I'll talk about him one more time based on what you just said. Because one thing that Dustin Perry said to me the very first time that I met him, I repeat it all the time. He said, it doesn't matter what you believe
believe
in,
in
just believe in something.
something. Exactly.
So I
100%.
think that's a perfect place to end everything tonight. Leah, Mike, thank you guys for joining me tonight. I appreciate you so much.
thank you.
Um, Obviously, we're going to be staying in touch and hopefully see each other sooner than later.
Yes.
And we'll have some fun, and we'll see if we can chill Mike to the bones again.
Bring your equipment and measure what happens. I'll
Yeah.
see what we
We
can
could
get a
do that.
hold of.
See,
Yeah.
look, we've already got a direction to go.
Help me prove what's real and what's going on.
All right. Thank you, guys. And
Thanks.
thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for watching us on YouTube. Don't forget, next week, the 18th, Mike Rick Sucker joins us. We're going to talk about aliens and triangles and how he gets that hair to slick back so perfectly every time. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
All right. We are still live on YouTube here for just a second. We got a few people there in the YouTube chat. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. we'll be back again here in about 20 minutes or so with Sean Austin. So we'll have some fun. So I'm going to go ahead and end the YouTube here real quick. Give me just a moment. I think we're good. Hey guys, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
No
And yeah,
problem.
like I said, hopefully we'll see you guys here pretty soon.
Yeah, let us
Are
know
you?
about December. If not,
Yes,
we'll
I
be
will. I'll
I
talk
think
to
it's
Liz and find out.
if not, I think it's all but in stone that we'll be up there in May.
Yep.
And
Okay.
I know we've got the bell booked. I would
Okay.
like to try to do one more place while we're up there. I don't know what though, but I would like to try to do something else.
Yeah. So just
Okay.
let us know.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I talked to you guys recently or it came up, but Angie and I have kind of reconnected here over the last month or so. So
Good. I'm glad.
so yeah. So
Pray
I've
for
been
us.
trying to get up to the bell. I just haven't had the time to do it. But yeah, I mean, you guys are coming up for that. I'm sure we could get into
We'd
Bob
like,
and Denise can get us into the jail or something, or
Is that
okay.
the Blackford County?
yeah,
No.
Blackford County, old Blackford
Yeah.
County Jail.
Okay, I
Yeah.
think that's who was commenting in the YouTube
Oh, it
video,
probably
right?
was. I wasn't even seeing any comments popping up. It was really weird, but
Yeah, Cold Talk was pretty much the only one.
Cold
And
Talk,
then
yeah, that's
I
it.
think somebody
Goofball
was
Bob.
Valiant Thor was. I was trying to read that, and it looked like somebody was just spamming the comments or something in there.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
yeah. But
but
yeah, I'm sure we can figure something out. But keep in touch with me. Let me know when you
Okay.
guys will be up here, and
yeah, most
at least if
definitely.
I can get up and hang out with you guys for a little bit, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, we'll be watching. Say hi to Sean.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.